back in the car after going to the gym. Oh my God. I used to work out to be skinny like 100 years ago. And now it's for my mental well-being. Oh my gosh, I feel so much stronger in my brain and my ability to manage life after something like that. Oh, I'm so grateful.
Welcome to Move, Sweat, Discover. My name is Abby. Today we have Amanda Casgar, global expert in brand, leadership, community, and culture.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. I know you're short on time, you're busy, so thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you make me sound way more important than I am, which is so kind. It's fun to be here.
So just to introduce you to our audience, I'm going to read a few things.
Okay.
One or two things that you've done. I'm gonna wear my glasses for this.
Oh, cute. I love how old you are.
Very official. You know, you've done a lot. So a pioneer with a passion for launching and growing businesses. Mm-hmm. The early days of your career were spent, I feel like this is your life.
Oh yeah, tell me about myself, Abby.
The early days of your career were spent in marketing, building new ventures for iconic media brands such as Oprah Winfrey, just like the icon.
I think so too.
The Food Network, Rachel Ray, and Lifetime. You then spent time in a leadership role on the community team at Lululemon, seeing in the early expansion in the US to launching Lululemon's first store in Europe. Mm-hmm. Then pioneering the brand success right here in Asia Pacific. It's where we met.
It sure is.
Leading expansion efforts growing from 0 to 100 stores in 8 new countries.
Yeah, that's true.
Co-founder of Hysterical, a community platform born to break the stigma around menopause.
You got it.
Consultant for startups, brands looking to drive growth by leveraging purpose to create culture and build community. You live in Seattle. You're a mom. Mommy.
Mom,
yeah. You teach community classes on weekends.
Yeah, for fun.
You officiate your friends' weddings on occasions.
On occasion, yeah.
Okay, so on my next wedding, I'm calling you up.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
The warmest of welcomes. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. That's so nice. I'm blushing.
We're just going to dive into the question that everyone hates me asking them.
Okay.
So we just did a class. Obviously, this podcast is about like discovering about yourselves during movement and workout. Mm-hmm. What did you learn about me at our Family Forum Heated Sculpt class?
What did I learn about you? Oh, I mean, I think you bring an intensity to your practice that is nice. I mean, you were really in the moment. Okay. And it's nice to see people be in the moment. I think we're so distracted, and we can be, we let ourselves be so distracted. I love the effort of movement, like so we get out of our brain. I think the hardest thing to do is to stop thinking. And I think when something's hard enough, that's the natural outcome. You could just like be in the effort of it. And you were in a really beautiful way. So.
And how sweaty.
Oh my God, I know. I was like, oh, my cheeks have never been pinker.
Yeah. So what did you learn about you?
I love music so much. And I love the expression and freedom of a good song. And Lindsay played, that Robin song at the beginning, Dancing by Myself. And I've been working quite hard the past 3 days. And I don't think I've listened to a great song. And I just felt so joyful and free in that moment, hearing a great song. And then it, progressively got harder. But the freedom that comes when letting myself, just be in joy was such a nice thing to remember in that first moment.
Were you always into movement? Like, how was your wellness practice growing up?
It's such a good question. I've always been a bit of a ham, and I love singing and dancing. And then somewhere along the way, I started eating my feelings, and so I became a kid that was overweight and had a really different relationship to my body that I don't think was born of capability. It was like a willingness. I wasn't willing to be active. I was a bit of a lazy kid, actually. And yet I was still on sports teams, and I would still, do things. I think an outsider might consider me quite active, but I didn't really find my athleticism until later. Yeah. And actually, I did my very first yoga class ever with Oprah when I was working at the Oprah Winfrey show. I discovered choice in movement in a way that I hadn't before, because there was something else in it for me than just like being fit or being skinny or something that, was an external reward.
Yeah.
And that's how I started like the journey in earnest of like why and how I want to move.
Okay. Let's rewind all the way back.
Sure.
All the way back. Because I dished out a lot of nuggets of what you've achieved in your life so far. Who is Amanda Casgar? Like, where are you from? Where have you been?
Sure.
What have you done?
Okay.
You know, like, how did you kind of come from where you've come from to where you are now?
Yeah. Okay.
Your journey.
I have a pet philosophy that we're the combination of where we went through puberty and where we became an adult.
Yeah.
And so I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, which if in the United States, it's considered the Midwest, but it's sort of mid-Atlantic, but it was a nice place to grow up. I have the same best friends that I've had since I was in first grade. I went to an all-girls school. There are 6 of us that are still dear friends. And I felt really lucky to be there and grow up in those values. And then I always wanted to be a talk show host. And so I love, I like watched Oprah growing up, and I went to school in Chicago, near where she filmed, and ended up interning there in college. And then that was my first job. And it was sort of an expression of, whoa, this is what's possible. Like I was a little nervous going to college. I was a little nervous going to a big town like Chicago. But I have this like courage override. If something feels scary, I tend to do it anyway. It's sort of a mechanism that I've always had.
Yeah.
And then when I was living in Chicago, I was traveling back and forth to New York all the time because all my best friends were in that big, scary city. And I was like, oh, wow, New York, it's scarier than Chicago. And so then, the override button hit again, and I moved to New York, and I lived there for 12 years. And then I worked in media and publishing and all sorts of different jobs, and then started working for Lululemon when I was in New York. And at that time, it was so early in the days. My parents had never heard of the brand. I'd barely heard of the brand. But I loved what they were doing. I love their philosophy, their approach about building community.
Yeah.
And so then in 2014, they said, can you go help us open our first store in London? And again, there was that like, oh, I don't like, that seems a little scary. But then the override button hit again, and I went to London, and I was changed. I just had really before thought New York was the center of the universe. It was the center of my universe, fair enough, but it wasn't the center of the universe. And going to London sort of opened my eyes to, what it meant to be abroad, and to leave America and my Americanness for a minute.
Yeah.
And then that project ended, and my boss said, what do you want to do? And, I said, it feels like you've given me the keys to the kingdom, and now you want them back. And she said, there's this other kingdom called Asia. And I don't think I've ever been more nervous. And I never had to press an override button so hard because it was a half a world away. I'd never been to Asia before. I'd never considered that in my future. But of course I hit the button, and here I came. Yeah. And it was an amazing chapter of a really brilliant time in my life, but it was hard, and I don't think I let myself know how hard it was until I came back and the cortisol sort of dissipated, and I could look back on that chapter and say, wow, like you did that, but it was big.
When you look at Lululemon now, is it kind of like watching a child from afar, like growing up, like, oh, now they've moved on to this and that.
Who are they dating? Yeah. A little bit. I love that company so much. And some of my very best friends are from my time there. And actually a lot of what I apply in business and leadership is from my time there. So I have nothing but gratitude and fond memories. And then there, I would say to anybody who has been at a place for a long time, it got to a point where I wanted to learn something else or learn in a new way, which is not to say that I wasn't still learning, but the pace and style of learning for me, it was possible to learn in new ways. And I think I realized that and went for something else. Yeah. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah. And at Lululemon, it's all about kind of like connection and community. And I was asked a lot of my guests, like, what does connection and community mean to them? So what does it mean for you? And like, because community is such a buzzword now that it's almost like, I was in Philippines recently, and I walked past a new Starbucks store opening, and it was like bringing coffee and community to you. And I was like, Starbucks community? I don't know.
Yeah,
like it's just a slap on that word, and it's like, okay, it's supposed to be inviting kind of thing.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I think the foundation of community is shared values and an opportunity to participate doing something in those shared values. What was special about Lululemon was that people wanted to be active together and sweat together and go hiking. We called it the sweat life. And it was and actually what united the people who worked at Lululemon was this growth mindset and this very real wanting to be better, learn more, be at the edge of learning and growth that I really responded to. And I would say community is available to all of us if we're willing to look and see what values are present. Yeah. And then how can we participate and create from that place? We're creating community if we're having our neighbors over for dinner and we're talking about, things that are important to us and connecting on that level. And then we can also do it, through your podcast. I'm sure your listeners share these same values of movement and growth and curiosity that you do. So you're building community. Yeah. And we're grateful for it.
And how does that extend to your professional life now?
Community is sort of my default setting. I think it's something I intrinsically do, endemically do. It's like something that is how I get work done. Yeah. So to me, it might be the how, and then the what can change. The kinds of companies that I work with, the kind of problems we're trying to solve, change. But the best problems are solved through relationship and through working in a way that feels good, and builds positive culture. Yeah.
So what inspired you to kind of segue? You mentioned that you wanted to kind of learn something new, like learn from a new kind of perspective. What's inspired you to kind of start offering coaching?
Oh, yeah. I was pulled a little bit, to be honest. Like people ask me if I would. And sometimes that happens, like where are the green lights? And so the coaching piece happened organically for people that needed help. And so I do that. And then what I really like to do is work with entrepreneurs and business leaders, helping. I sort of realized this today, actually, right before I saw you at Lindsay's class. I think what I do well is apply business principles to leadership, like personal leadership, and to people on a personal level. And then I apply personal growth principles to businesses. So it's that weird discordance and sort of, like connecting of the dots that I think actually adds value to either space. So so I'm able to add value to individuals on a coaching perspective because I have a lot of toolkits from business, but I'm also able to do the same for business because I have a toolkit from personal growth. It's kind of a weird thing, but it seems to work. And so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. One of the ads I think I saw on social media recently about one of your workshops that you're doing right now, it was like 5 reasons why. And the first one was if you're feeling stuck. So hypothetically, I'm feeling stuck.
Asking for a friend.
Yeah. If one is feeling stuck, what is like the first like go-to for them to kind of get unstuck?
Stuckness is like one of the hardest things, but I operate in a framework of personal growth. There are 3 components to personal growth. One is self-awareness. The second piece is self-regulation, which is really hard. It's co-opting our reaction and being in response. And then the third piece is compassion. And that's building a sense of empathy for yourself and also for the world around us. It depends on how stuck the person is, but I would say self-awareness is usually the place to start. And And oftentimes we can get something by looking at ourselves and our life from a third person or third party perspective.
Yeah.
Because then we're able to get fresh eyes. So there's some tools and methodology to just zoom out and say, oh, what is working for me right now and what is not working for me? So you can have a distance, and in that distance, there's a space.
Yeah.
And in the space, there's an absence of attachment, and then you could see things in a different way.
Yeah. Because the reason why I brought that up, because I think sometimes, like, I've worked for myself for like the last 8 or 9 years. And I sometimes think like, oh God, I don't know where I'm going. And that in a sense makes me feel stuck, but I still carry on. I still do my work, and I'm still, like motivated and inspired. But I guess I think that I'm like, I don't know if I'm stuck or am I just,
what's
unsure.
The essence? Yeah. Well, what's the essence of, I don't know where I'm going? Do you know where you want to be in, let's say, 5 years?
I don't often operate like that. We talked off mic just a second ago when you were asking about like, what is your goal with this podcast? And, there were short-term goals, but I think it was the first time I'd actually properly thought about where would this be in 5 years, for example. Yeah.
I think what anybody can do
Yeah.
is think about their life in 10 years. And what's cool about this tool is that you know how old you're going to be in 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Well, okay, you could have that.
I'm going to be still young.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. But we all know how old we're going to be in 10 years.
Sure, yeah.
And the benefit of that time frame is that it generally removes like the obstacles that we make up.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to have enough money to do that, or I'm not going to have enough time to do that.
Yeah.
10 years is a long time. And if you aren't aware that 10 years is a long time, think about your life 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And all you've accomplished since then. And then you're like, oh my gosh, 10 years ago, I didn't even, well, actually I did live in Asia, right? But like, I couldn't have imagined that I would have children and that I would have my own business and all sorts of things, right? So you automatically sort of pin yourself into possibility mode. And then I would say, like, could you dream? And could you imagine what you want, and let yourself imagine, because the only person really getting in our own way is ourselves. Like, nobody doesn't want you to have everything that you want. It's only the stories that we tell ourselves. And so if we could dare to dream, and I know that sounds a little cliche, but if you could just put some big ideas down as a thought starter for yourself, at least you have something directional. You know that you're going to Tahiti instead of Bora Bora. Like if your life was a boat, you've set the navigation, and then you can let the rest sort of play out. But at least you have an idea of something exciting and something that, makes your, stomach flutter in a good way.
So, I mean, I would see this as being a kind of, I guess, challenge. What are some of the other challenges or goals that some of your clients kind of face, and what is your approach to getting them there?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we just talked about stuckness. I think, we sort of talked about this, but it's limiting belief. Yeah. The idea of getting in your own way. I'm not that kind of person, or I don't deserve to have that, or, I've never been successful in this area, so why would I be in the future? Like we make up stories. The wild thing about our brains is that we have what we're thinking isn't automatically true. We seduce and convince ourselves that what we think is true, but that's actually not the case, right? So I would try and back away from what we think is true and baked in, and ask, is that true? Or could there be a different possibility there? Yeah.
And are there any success stories that you can share with us?
Oh my gosh. So I met a client. He came to my workshop last year when I was in Hong Kong, and he was really stuck and pretty despairing, very frustrated with an old job and how he was treated, and in a real crisis of confidence. And now he is a business owner. Like he is an entrepreneur. Like he's like, there's so many opportunities coming my way. I don't know. Like, I think I need to say no to some. I don't know, if I should be saying yes to all these things, but he did flip the switch. You know how magnets, like when you flip them over, suddenly they become, you become an attractor. So he did the work to flip his magnet over, and now everything is flooding his way. And it just makes me so happy to see someone happy.
Yeah. In your experience, what are some of the most rewarding aspects of being doing what you're doing and being a coach?
The individual coaching is really fun. I love coaching teams too. I just spent 3 days with 2 different teams, and we spend so much time at work. And I think we take for granted that like our work life can't be as fulfilling or connected or joyful as our home life. Like, I don't know why we grew up in that culture, but I work with teams that have brilliant and beautiful cultures, and they hire me because they get that. They get that that's the unlock to building a wonderful team in business, like starting on the inside to create something tangible on the outside that connect with customers or guests. So that to me is the big reward.
Yeah.
It creates a bit of scale in a way that I like. Individual is really fun and rewarding, but then when you can see and impact 25 people and how they relate to each other, and then how that relationship at work translates to more power in their life outside of work, it's like, so nice to.
Are there any kind of obstacles culturally? Because, you've done a lot of stuff in North America, and you're out here now doing a lot of workshops.
Yeah.
I know that like sometimes in Asia, it feels like there's a sense of we hold back.
Yeah.
We don't share our feelings so much. And sometimes we're not even in touch with, we don't even know what we're feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The world over.
Sure. Okay.
The world over. I think what feels true to me, and you could fight me on this, but I think human beings are 99.99% the same.
Yeah.
The cultures we grow up in inform us and inform how we relate to the world, but our basic needs are the same.
Yeah.
And so if I'm doing a good job, I'm connecting with people on that level. What I could do a better job of is speaking other languages. I like really just can speak English, and that's pretty much it. So I do work with translators, and I feel very lucky to have some very talented people working with me. But if we could get to this like futuristic place where we all can see and understand it, or like speak to each other in real time in a way that we're understanding the nuance of that language and the feeling that language is creating, that would be like such a beautiful application of technology.
Yeah. I mean, I guess vulnerability is vulnerability. It's difficult for everybody, right?
It can be, and you can practice it.
Yeah.
And I would offer, like, for what purpose are we holding back?
You make it sound so easy.
I do. Well, you came to one of my workshops, and I think did you feel better at the end having shared, or not as good?
Absolutely. 100%. And that's, it definitely has played a part in making me lean on being vulnerable in all situations in my life moving forwards. But I was entering that space, there's 20 odd people or whatever, and it's intimidating because I don't know them, I don't know them, and what if I sound stupid? And I'm sure that's what everyone else in the room is thinking or feeling, but some people speak openly and eloquently, and some people don't. So it's how do you kind of get the room to,
I think,
bubble over?
Yeah, it's a good question. You're right. Like, vulnerability is not an easy thing to lean into. And particularly when we grow up in cultures, like Eastern cultures, where we are not, sharing our feelings openly and actively, it can be harder. And what I've experienced with people, humans, is that we really want to share.
Yes.
We thrive with attention. We're like plants and puppies, like plants look better and grow more when you water them. And dogs need scratches behind their ears, and so do humans need attention. And I think if we deny that we need attention, we're doing our own selves and the people we're in relationship a disservice.
Yeah.
And so if we can create spaces where we can share and give attention to ourselves and be willing to have the attention given to us, not in a way that's self-serving or, narcissistic, just to like be in the energy of people, I think the world would be a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you had any kind of blockages during your workshops where people are like, I don't know, I'm not sharing? Because I know that there was a guy in our workshop that left halfway through before lunch.
Oh, he left because of work.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I'm remembering correctly. There was like a team that had to swap halfway through. So there was a guy in the morning and then his colleague came in the afternoon.
I was like, oh my God, he doesn't want to share.
That's amazing. Oh my God. But so now you've been creating a story for a year that I like really alienated this person. God bless. Oh, that's amazing. I don't think so. And I don't think I'm protecting myself right now and telling you a story. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But yeah, for sure. And it's, as a facilitator, it is sometimes hard to know when to push and when to pull back. And that's something that I'm in real time just, managing in the management of, is this person willing to go there with me? Do I step away? Are they okay? It's very much caring for people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I take great responsibility.
You give a lot of yourself.
I do share a lot, don't I?
And it's great. It's great because it also kind of gives everyone a sense of comfort and it's a safe space that they can share their own kind of stories.
Yeah.
How do you then kind of go away and give it back to fill your cup back up? Because how many sessions have you had today?
I know.
You must need the energy back somehow.
Yeah, I really like to shut it down in the evening. I'm a morning person. I like to sleep and just restore. I read fiction.
Yeah.
I take baths. It can be energizing and it can be depleting. It sort of depends on the conversation and the day.
Yeah.
But what I want everybody to know is that if you're working in your passion and your ability, it should be energizing.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll leave a workshop and feel like real fired up and excited and full of lots of vigor.
Yeah. I'm the same. I mean, like I work with people, I teach group classes and I teach community classes to domestic helpers in Hong Kong.
So cool.
And that I find the most rewarding. I give all of my energy and they're taking it. But I actually walk away like, this is just the best feeling in the world because they are so happy and so
it's passion
in
and
that
ability.
sense I kind of feel like that's filling my cup back up to see people walking away with a smile on their face and energized for their day.
And then you feel so selfish because you're like, I get to do this is what I get to do.
Let's talk about Hysterical. What was the driver behind that?
It's such a good question. So I had ED when I was 41, almost 42. It was like, I was 41 and 9 months basically, which is like pretty old for being a mom in this country. They call it in every country you're like a geriatric pregnant person, which is like really fun language. And a friend of mine from Hong Kong, like at the same time that I was pregnant and having ED, was doing a dissertation she was doing a sort of applied psychology coaching dissertation and was going to do it on one topic, but then was starting to get interested in menopause herself and perimenopause. Because a lot of her clients, she was a personal trainer, a lot of her clients were having that experience. And so she wanted to be able to respond to them. Yeah. Anyway, she started educating me, and in her education of me, we both realized how much we didn't know. And that every woman like us also didn't know. And so what she had discovered in her research was that what was missing in the world of menopause was community, and a place for women to talk to each other. And having been a community person, building communities my whole life and feeling called to this subject area, we created Hysterical, and then we pulled in another friend, and the concept was birth. But what we ended up doing was talking to 30 different experts and combination of experts over the course of a year, and just hearing, like, educating ourselves. And we did it in a live talk show format so that people could ask real-time questions. And what's amazing is when anyone is in need, they show up to help figure out how to solve for that need. And so there were women in real pain and struggling, that just wanted their questions answered. So it became like it was a purposeful project and endeavor, but we were really filling a need and creating community at the same time.
Yeah. So it's, what is it exactly for our
sure.
listeners?
So there were 30 live talk shows, and now they're available in podcast format. So you can find Hysterical. And if you're a woman over 35, I would say the subject should be pretty interesting to you, because menopause is coming for you, whether you want it to or not.
Yeah. So, like, how does Hysterical aim to address these kind of challenges then?
But merely through education. So doctors are taught about menopause. Like, even if you're an OBGYN, so a women's doctor, menopause is covered in 30 minutes of medical school. It's this like weird, unaddressed subject. And so 70% of women have symptoms of menopause. So, and there are 134 different symptoms that are related to your fluctuating hormones. And I think we like colloquially talk about 3 of them: hot flashes, night sweats, and rage, maybe. But if you think about the 134, there's a lot of stuff that's going on with women they don't even know or could ascribe to their hormonal fluctuations. And so we just want to, spread information so people can advocate for themselves and become, masters of their own destiny, really. Yeah.
From my limited experience and knowledge about this subject, it always just seems that it's like brush under the carpet, brush to the side, and, like leave her. She's got hot flashes or whatever. Don't talk about it, kind of thing. And I always found that kind of attitude, well, maybe it was just within my experiences in my family or whatever, but it just feels very, it feels alienating.
Yeah, for sure. I think about it as a feminist cause in some ways. I don't, cause is maybe not the right word, but the third wave of feminism, if you think about marginalized people, older women are a marginalized group in many, many cultures. And for what purpose? The reason menopause exists is something called the grandmother hypothesis. So we spoke to this anthropologist that coined grandmother hypothesis, because there's only like 3 mammals that go through menopause: women, humans. There's like 1 species of monkey, and whales. Yeah. And the notion is that women need to stop being able to breed and have children so that they can take care of the tribe. So tribes and pods that have postmenopausal women in them thrive. Countries that have older women leading them beat all the other countries in like 10 leading indicators of greater health, like climate health, socioeconomic health, wellness, well-being. Like, we need women and women's energy to be leading the world. And if women drop out because they don't feel well in their body, or they're not being taken seriously, or they're fed up with other people being so annoying, then we're at, there's a real impact. So Hysterical was founded because we believe mature women with agency, confidence, and curiosity are needed to change the world.
Yeah. So what is the 5-year goal with Hysterical?
Oh, you asked such a good question. We're in a pause right now, to be honest. Yeah. I don't know what's next for it. We were thinking about getting funded. It was a passion project. We all got kind of busy with jobs and other life things, but it's still out there. It's still generating value. We get hundreds of downloads every week. So I think I don't know, maybe one of your listeners will have an idea and send an email to you, and then you'll send an email to me.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important. It's only, for me, even come to light that it's such an important thing to talk about. So
I spoke to a woman this morning in coaching, and she doesn't feel at home in her body, and she's 42 and right. And it's a bummer to suddenly not feel like yourself.
Yeah.
And I would wish that for every human being. You know, how can we feel more like ourselves? I think I would say that's like my answer to your question 20 minutes ago. You know, what's another thing that I help people with? It's, you know, we want to feel more like ourselves and have permission to be ourselves and comfortable with all of the weirdness that is. You know, we're all stone cold weirdos. And I think if we just let ourselves be that more, again, the world would be a better place. We'd relate to each other in a different way.
Yeah.
And so if anybody doesn't feel like themselves, I would ask, you know, talk to somebody to figure out what might that be, and how can you feel more like yourself?
So for someone that has seen those sponsored ads about your workshops, someone who perhaps isn't so comfortable with being vulnerable, someone that just needs, what would you say to them to kind of not convince them to that your workshop is the best thing in the whole world, but you know, how would you kind of introduce them to this whole concept?
The concept of personal growth or development. Is that it? Yeah. I think it's like, here's my point of view. Being a human is tricky.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about how tricky it is. We come to, like, we're born and we don't know what we're doing. You know, like a giraffe comes out and stumbles around, and then it's like knows how to be a giraffe. It's like suddenly eating leaves off of the trees, right? As human beings, we have this thing called consciousness, and it gets in the way of, you know, us naturally knowing how to be in the world. And so if we just let ourselves know that it's tricky, then we would approach it in a different way. Like, we don't have all the answers all the time. We can look for help and guidance in other kinds of ways. And if somebody thinks they have all the answers, then you're approaching it from the wrong place, because the more we're aware of what we don't know, I think the better off we are.
Yeah.
And so I would say, if you're at all curious to learn something new, then that's the right place to be. And whether it's for me or not, I don't actually care. I do care that people do some work to, you know, deal with the complexity of what this experience is, because there are a lot of people suffering alone, and our mental health well-being is not something to take for granted. And I think we should all, you know, spend as much time on our mental health as we do on our physical health, as we do on our financial health, as we do on our relationship health. Like, to have a whole healthy life, you need to invest in lots of different areas.
Yeah. Going back to movement.
Oh, yeah.
What over the years have you learned about yourself through movement?
I really didn't know that I was a sort of a mesomorph kind of body type, like somebody that liked lifting weights and could get really strong. And I don't think I learned that about myself until my 30s. And then like really explored it while I was living in Hong Kong, and had some really great personal trainers that I worked with here.
Yeah.
And so I think what I discovered is how strong I am, and how that translates physically into mental toughness and strength, and resilience and grit, and all the things that I probably have always been, but maybe didn't choose or acknowledge.
Yeah. And have you kind of put any of those things, those lessons that you've learned in movement through your kind of business?
Oh, absolutely.
Practices?
Yeah. I mean, it's a whole life, you know. One thing that we talk about, and we'll talk about in one of the workshops, is how, like, we hold energy in our body, and our energy can get really stuck, and it can be stuck for 30 years. It could be stuck for 1 year. You know, like the thing to notice about kids and dogs is that they feel their feeling and then they get rid of it, right? Like my 4-year-old is mad at me and she cries and has a tantrum and then she's over it. She doesn't bring it up again later.
Yeah.
Oh, mommy, remember when? No, she doesn't have grudges or resentment.
Yeah.
We learned that somewhere. But the act of movement and like somatic movement and getting rid of the stuck energy, I think, is something we should all be doing. So, is your headache or are you mad at somebody? Would be a question I would ask.
Yeah. You may not remember this, but today, or like the times that we have done family forum together, is not the first time we worked out. I think the first time we met each other was in a yoga class taught by, I want to say, somebody. I can't remember. Yeah.
Okay.
I think maybe Victor Chow.
I was just going to say Victor.
Yes. Yeah. And today, sweating next to you, I felt like I was taken back to that yoga class. And I felt like what I learned back then, or what I thought of you back then, and what I learned from this previous session was that you are a ray of light.
Aww.
Like you're like in your movement, you are curious. In the way that you move with purpose. In the way that you kind of sing the Robin song or whatever. You take your rest actually, and you don't beat yourself up over the fact that you're sipping water. You embrace the heat, for example. In that yoga class, I remember again you kind of made like kind of sounds. You kind of stopped, dusted yourself off, and then went straight back into it. So you exude, I feel, like a zest for life, for a natural curiosity, and that comes across in your work. And also the way that you move.
Oh, that's so nice.
Do you feel that that's an accurate representation?
Oh my gosh. I mean, if it isn't, I'm going to claim it. Oh, that's like so nice to be noticed that way and with such generosity. I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I love your hypothesis that like who we are in movement is who we are in life. I think that's a brilliant thing to play out and for people to get curious, am I this in all ways? And where does it not feel like me?
Yeah.
I think you're noticing something quite brilliant. It's a funny thing working out in front of a mirror. I don't do that on my in my daily.
Yeah.
And so what I appreciated about myself this morning was how far I've come being able to be with my physical body in a mirror, as a kid who had a big story about being, here I go, I'm crying, overweight when I was little. I like feel really strong and very happy to be in my body. And I'm not, the skinniest person in the room, but I felt 100% happy being myself in my body. And maybe that's what you noticed too.
Yeah, no, really, it really kind of showed through. Like even after the Robin song ended, like you could really tell that you own it.
Well, that is such a jam. I mean, anybody please go listen to Dancing by on my own. It's so good.
Yeah. We are winding up here, but when we wind up with a go-to lightning round.
Oh,
so
okay.
Just 10 quick questions.
Fun.
Don't think too much about it.
Okay.
They're just, your go-to. So go-to sweat.
I do a workout in the park with my friends where it's sort of like Zumba /HIIT squats to songs. So
you guys just teach it yourselves? Do it yourselves?
I teach it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice,
it's kind of like a dance party. We do outside, rain or shine in Seattle. It's pretty fun.
Love it.
Yeah.
Go-to treat meal, because we don't do cheat. We treat.
Oh, treat?
Yeah.
I really love fried food. I like a chicken nugget. Not a chicken nugget, but like
chicken tenders.
Maybe like a piece of fried chicken or a piece of fried fish. Like I kind of dirty food.
Where is a good one? The recommendation.
My husband is like quite a prolific chef, and so he makes the best food.
Okay. Home cooking's always the best.
Yeah.
Go-to life motto.
Everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. Or being a human is tricky.
Love it.
Yeah.
A go-to stress reliever.
Oh, I always do this. Can I do it without messing up your microphone?
You did that in class.
I did. Try it. It works. I often do it at IKEA and the grocery store because I'm so overwhelmed with what I have to do.
Yeah, it's good. It's like breathing, but with a
valve.
little.
It's a pressure valve.
Yeah. Okay. Go to travel destination.
Oh, I love going to new places. But my family and I are going to Hawaii in April, and I'm excited to just be in kind of a magical tropical place with them, you know, with sand and beach. I'm excited.
Yeah. Where was that the first time you're going to Hawaii?
No, I've been to Maui before, but all four of us have never been together.
Yeah.
And the girls have never been.
Have you been to Siargao in the Philippines?
No.
Okay, that's
I'll put it
a
on
new
the list.
place.
Okay.
Yeah, I just went there and it was heaven.
Okay.
Go to morning routine.
I mean, it's pretty crap at the moment, to be honest, but
You're traveling.
Well, no, I mean, because I've got a 4-year-old and a dog and all sorts of things. I'm in my like vision of myself. I wake up and meditate and have coffee and I'm like working on stuff before everybody wakes up. But in reality, I just lay in bed and read until everybody wakes up.
Yeah. So do you have a go to evening routine?
Yeah, I mean, I shut it down. So I have like a 10-step face regimen and I'll put my jammies on. And after everybody's in bed, I'll read my book and I'll just like really shut it down.
Okay. I like it. Go to app.
Oh, I app. I don't know. Like, I guess WhatsApp since I'm here, but I'm not an apper.
Okay,
I don't
that's
think.
good.
Yeah. I try not to be like a victim to my phone and like the busyness of my phone. I got rid of Instagram for a while and I'm really only on it now because I'm here. I have New York Times. The app that I'm on the most.
They have some good things on there.
You know, and back to evening routine, I'll do the games on New York Times. It's a good way to not be reading the news and turn my brain into something else.
And they have good recipes, actually.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Melissa Clark's lentil soup recipe on the New York Times app, it has like 25,000 5 stars. It's so easy. Okay. And then once you make it once, you can sort of make it your own. Like I made it green curry the other day, like added green curry to it. It's, try
lentil soup, okay. Go to music playlist.
I'm listening to Chapel Roan Radio now on Spotify, and there's some really big. And I just discovered Doechii from that Spotify playlist. Yeah,
that's a good. That's a good one. And then last one, go to book.
Okay, I just read this like dragon fantasy romance. It's basically like a young adult series called Fourth Wing. But holy moly, it's really good and it's very escapist and I'm not sorry.
And is it going to be a film franchise soon?
It might be. I Googled it after I read the 3, and I think it might be on Amazon as a series.
Okay.
But I'm really into dragons. I didn't know.
Oh, what's that? Game of Thrones?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
But like the dragons imprint on the human and you can read each other's thoughts. And that's how I feel about my dog. Okay. I feel like we've imprinted on each other.
Is that your zodiac sign by any chance? Dragon?
No, I'm a Libra.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, the Chinese one.
Oh, no, I'm a horse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's next for you?
In life? You know what? I'm going to work with Lindsay and she's going to help me build my brand.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm making bold requests and doing less of the things that I don't want to do and more of the things I do want to do.
Okay. Exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
How do people find you?
I'm Rock the Casgar on Instagram, or they can go to my website. It's yolk.com. Okay. Like the inside of an egg. It's yolk.
And are you coming back for more workshops that we can all be vulnerable in, and where we will see you in your orange jumpsuit?
Yeah, if you'll have me.
If you'll have
me.
You're not wearing that today.
Did you not see my fun art lady pants?
Yes. Yeah. Will you have more workshops coming up?
Yeah, okay. I will.
Okay.
Yeah. Come, this is what I want people to know. It's an investment in your whole life.
Yes. Yeah.
And life is too short to not get everything that we want. Yeah.
I love it.
I want you to have everything that you want, Abby, and I want you to figure out what that is.
Thank you.
Will you do that?
I will, but I won't
Okay.
cry on camera here. Off mic.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
Oh, thank you
I
for
really,
having me.
really, really appreciated your time today. And you are a ray of light.
Oh my
that
God, thanks
shines
you.
bright on me.
And thanks for everybody listening. It's so nice to just, have this opportunity. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You too. See you soon.
You too.
Thank you for joining us on Move, Sweat, Discover. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.